Hello there, and welcome to part 19 of a series of short videos that I did on J Huxley's work, Essays in Popular Science, his non-fictional work, and Aldous Huxley's fictional work, A Brave New World. And the point of all these videos is to try to get you to see that Aldous Huxley's Brave New World is not a fictional piece of work, and it was never intended to be fiction. I think I mentioned before, and other researchers, I've heard them say many a time, that science fiction is there to get you used to the idea of the shape of things to come. Get you used to your new technologies, new concepts, so that when it actually happens, it's not as strange. The idea is familiar to you. It's embedded in your subconscious, so it's conditioning you, and so I hope that when you look at A Brave New World now, you watch these videos, you can connect the dots and see that really it was never intended to be a fictional work. It's almost preparing you for the future, and it's telling you the future. I made another video because I'm new to YouTube. I called it Calling All Free Thinkers to Speak Their Truth, or something like that. And in that video I told you just a little bit about myself, how I got into all of this. Because I was listening to Alan Watt talk on one of his video clippets, and how he was saying that for those people that are awake, to whatever degree, if you don't do something about the knowledge that you have, it will turn on you, and what I saw in that is I needed to somehow get active and start speaking and trying to put my voice out to people, to like-minded people that want to listen and can maybe make use of all of this information. So that was the intention, basically, to do it for myself, that was probably number one, and then also to help other people, just as great researchers like Alan Watt have really helped me and inspired me. I've never met the guy, but it's only been several months since I've been looking at his work, but he's changed me for the better. Knowledge is power. So, a personal thanks to Alan Watt, and any of the other researchers like him. And there's also a lady called, I believe she's called Dee Bess. She has a YouTube kind of a little website thing where she puts lots of Alan Watts videos. You can probably find them all there. Dee Bess, she says, has a YouTube account, and she contacted me through email, thanking me for the little videos I've been doing, and it's really nice to have feedback, again, like-minded people, so I'd like to thank her. Thanks for putting my little videos up. They're a bit amateur, but it's a start, and I've been enjoying this. I do feel better for it, So, final thoughts. Yeah, I do believe we're in the middle of, by the way, I have made some notes. So, yeah, semi-professional. But yeah, I believe that we are in the middle of a brave new world, and the end goal, hasn't come to completion, and that's the good news. The capstone, if you like, is not set on the pyramid. That's one way of putting it. Flash words there. Yeah, as researcher Alan Watts says, we're in the middle of a planned script, and I can really see that. A well-planned script, put into practice by a power elite, that make decisions for us and shape us They're the people shapers, you know. I actually have a book on called The People Shapers, written in the 1970s. And that's an interesting book because people shapers is what they do. Socially shape us. They give us their minds, you know, through indoctrination, but through a scientific biological dictatorship, they're gonna, you know, they can physically shape us, permanently alter us. Yeah, I believe in the past the same type of people with the same kind of mentality have ruled us for thousands of years at least. Some say they're bloodline related, others say they're psychopathic, you know, it's probably true. And the danger here is also to believe that our old religious controllers, along with their kings and queens, are completely separate to the scientific, technological control system that we're living in now. That's what I think they want you to believe. That science is the good guy, and religion was the bad guy. This is what people like Bertrand Russell want you to believe. You know, it's a bit of a coincidence that, you know, all this science and all these inventions happened when we started living in a so-called democratic society. You know, and I don't believe that there's any real true such thing as democratic society, but go into that another time maybe. Yeah, so we've had lots of scientific breakthroughs in the last 100 years, and because our controllers, they've changed tactics basically. Which brings us to the term New World Order. I think, you know, that's what it's all about, New World Order, and there's so many implications of what a New World Order can mean. New ideas, new values about who you are as a human being, etc. Because in the past, you know, we've lived in an overt control system. That was it. That was a time where many people, you know, peasants and people like that feared their servitude and hated it. People, you know, the elite, they ruled with the crown and the cross. The church was the cross, the religion basically. That was the form of a very, I suppose it's almost kind of a very primitive form of mind control, mainly through fear, I guess. Well, if you look at Christianity, there's the fear of, not, you know, you fear the king, you fear the death in this world. If you say something wrong or you try and rebel, you get your head chopped off. But the religious control system makes you fear the afterlife, makes you fear what will happen then, you know. So that's the crown and the cross are closely connected, were connected. And you can still kind of see similar systems set in place, say maybe in third world countries, but that's changing. So it was a world of religion and religious dogma, superstition, you know, draped in fear. In order to keep the people docile, they starved them, you know, peasants and things like that, creating malnutrition, spread of diseases, infections, unhygienic living conditions and bad sanitation and poverty, and war and the threat of war. All of these factors kept the masses under the boot of the world controllers. It's a very primitive way of doing it, because you know, even given all of that, there's always a chance of uprising. And I read a book. It was called An Idiot's Guide to the Crusades, or, you know, one of those books for kind of dummies, you know, like you even got conspiracy theory one for dummies. I picked it up for a couple of quid, and I had a dip in it and read some of it, and basically they were talking about kind of medieval Europe before, or at the time, before the time, or at the time when the Crusades were taking place about 1,000 years ago. And my God, the conditions that the average Joe lived in were absolutely appalling. The way that the kings and the queens and the churches treated people, because I believe they were afraid of them. You got to wonder why people, these power elites, they built big castles and a big moat as high as they can get, and the priests kind of, were always in their churches and cathedrals. But, maybe they were protecting themselves from us, I think they were. And then the threat of war, or maybe the French would come in, or maybe the English would come in, maybe they made it up to keep us scared. Because in that book it said that they didn't allow the common people to have farming equipment, no proper farming equipment, no metal, nothing adequate to horse and cart and everything. And they didn't allow them to hunt. So they were living off bread, and they were eating grass because they were so hungry. There was something called holy fire, which was probably some reaction to the grass, because we can't eat it, can we, anymore? And when we would urinate, it would burn, and they called it holy fire. So they were starving them, basically. They couldn't hunt. They didn't have hunting weapons, so they couldn't eat meat. So they couldn't think straight. They didn't have any protein. They didn't have any strength. And when you're like that, it's very hard to rebel, isn't it? So, and with the farming equipment and the hunting, well, it's weapons. So if you get enough of those, you can maybe storm a castle. So these are very primitive ways of keeping people in servitude, as peasants and all of that. But of course they hate it, and there's a problem there being free spirits. There's always a chance, if you're not brainwashed with the religious dogma, to be a free spirit. And there's an advantage in that, because you're a slave. And I think most people, well, they knew they were slaves. They bloody hated it, didn't they? And quite rightly so. I didn't like their servitude. And that brings up the other side of the coin that we face today, and that's not a covert, but not an overt, but a covert form of control. That's more subtle. And that's what we're living in today. So let's talk about that in the next video.